John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on June the 21st, the year of our Lord 2026, the first day of summer, the longest day of the year, incidentally. So, we have some good information for you tonight, some great information, something from Andrew Klavan. Right here he is, right here on Murtech.com. But let's go ahead and click over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is my Rumble channel. This is the live stream we're talking about tonight, episode 1955. Let's go ahead and jump into this and pause this. All right, hi WBS. Glad to see you could join us. Let me, I'll get back to you, okay? All right, let's slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. As I said, we have information from Andrew Klavan, Doug in Exile, McWattersaffect, and X22 Report, Mr. and Mrs. X. But before we get into that, I want to give some shout outs here to T-Bro122, gave me a $10 rant. God bless y'all, is what his message was. 67's exclamation point just started following my channel. Big Josh 66669 just started following my channel. Peter Bishop R just started following my channel. Christian Space just started following my channel. KKC2909 just started following my channel. Bab Azurk Quant 09 or 00 just started following my channel. SuckH22 just started following my channel. IT Scooty just started following my channel. Tracy Soli Mass just started following my channel. Boy, some of these handles are amazing, folks. Stay05 Frosty just started following my channel. Laura Lynn Nunn, I guess it is, just started following my channel. Dur2030 just started following my channel. Will2 Push Forward just started following me. G Make'em 6 just started following my channel. And Cover45 just started following my channel. Whew! Thank you very much, folks. I really appreciate you following my channel. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Let me give that a thumbs up. I had to make 2 comments. I had so many comments and people following me today. WBS reposted my episode 1954. Conservative 7 commented on my daily news wrap-up. Conservative 7. And Noah Dunging, Michigan Nanny, commented on my daily news wrap-up from last night. Debbie BS, Viper Senior, and Cotton Ball 31 commented on my episode 1954 from last night. Debbie BS commented on my extra 737A. Christian Space and Debbie BS commented on my extra 737B. And Debbie BS commented on my extra 737C. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my videos and putting your comments, giving me your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and I certainly appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. There we go. All right, let's get into this. Andrew Klavan, Why is Everyone So Miserable? Episode 1283. Let's check this out. Here we go. All right, I guess I'm going to have to refresh this because I don't hear the audio.
Sure, I still love them and all, but not like I'd love a trillion. Well, folks, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I always try to be honest with you. And the truth is Something terrible has happened. Elon Musk has become a trillionaire, so now everything is ruined. It seems like only a week ago when Musk was just worth $900 billion and life was great in this country. I had a beautiful wife, a couple of wonderful kids. Now I look at my family and sure, I still love them and all, but not like I'd love $1 trillion. I mean, that's a lot of money, but I don't have it. And Elon Musk does. So everything is ruined. It's just like they said on the socialist website Left Voice, quote, "A trillionaire Elon Musk is a morbid symptom of capitalism." That's right. Capitalism simply is not fair. After all, the Soviet Union had socialism for 70 years and ended up with nothing. Musk shows up in a capitalist country with $2,000 in his pocket just 37 years ago, and now he's a trillionaire. So everything is ruined. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was obviously right too when she said, you can't earn that much money just by creating Tesla with its new energy storage systems and Starlink with its worldwide network of satellite connections, or Neuralink, which gives paralyzed people the ability to use computers with their minds, and SpaceX with its rocket ships that go into space and then come down and land safely on a platform the size of an inner tube so they can be used again and ultimately take mankind to Mars. You can't earn that much money just by doing those things. Musk must have cheated his employees by forcing them to work for low wages and stock options that have now made 4,500 of those employees millionaires themselves. And okay, that might make them happy now, but wait till they find out they only have a lousy $1,000,000 while Musk is a trillionaire. So everything is ruined. To give credit where credit is due, a lot of politicians did try to stop this from happening. Senator Elizabeth Warren did a tribal dance to the Great Spirit of Sun and Sky, who lives on Mackinac Island. Warren asked the Great Spirit of Sun and Sky to stop the fork-tongued white man from taking all that money, like the whites took the land that belonged to Elizabeth Warren's Native American ancestors. Unfortunately, the Great Spirit of Sun and Sky just looked down from Mackinac Island and said, "Whoever told that white girl she could dance?" Then he handed out cards good for a free gin and tonic at his new Sun and Sky Casino on Mackinac Island. And before we knew it, Musk was a trillionaire and everything was ruined. And just think what good we could have done with all that money if Musk hadn't taken it. There are almost 800,000 homeless people in America. If Musk just divided his wealth among them, each and every homeless person could be smoking meth through a rolled $100,000 bill and talking to Venusians using a helmet made out of genuine tinfoil. Even if Musk just gave enough money to help one location, that would be something. For instance, there are 70,000 homeless people in the tent cities of Los Angeles alone. If Musk just gave $1 billion to the public officials there, I bet within a month there would be some very happy public officials driving their Ferraris past the tent cities of Los Angeles. Instead, Elon Musk is a trillionaire and everything is ruined. Let's face it, $1 trillion in the hands of one individual just gives that individual too much power. With that much money, Elon Musk could come over my house and order me to do whatever he wanted, and I would have to do it. Unless I didn't want to, then I wouldn't have to do it. Still, it would be really annoying to have Elon Musk coming to my house shouting orders at me all the time. What the hell is his problem? Anyway, that's the bad news. Everything is ruined. The good news is we're going to Mars. Trigger morning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
All right. He cleared that up for me because I was curious whether everything was ruined or not, simply because Elon Musk is a trillionaire, but I'm glad he cleared that up for me. Okay, let's get past his commercials and stuff. And all right, here we go.
Tuscany, and then we went to Rome. But we were also just walking around the hill towns, and a lot of these were scenes from our honeymoon 46 years ago. Oh, but my big takeaway from getting away from my people, my purpose, any gold coin. As you get old, these things, annual brand to take.
There we go. What's the big
Chapter
deal?
1, what's the big deal? So I'm watching all the debate about the possible deal to get us out of this Iran war and the closed Strait of Hormuz. And it actually points to something about why we're so miserable, but I have to get around to it first. They've signed this memorandum of agreement. I'm sure you're following all this. It's supposed to end the war. It's 14 points. And I want you to notice right away that the people with the most simplistic opinions are the first out of the box for the simple reason that they have ideologies. They don't really even have to look at the deal. So the people who want out of Iran think it's a great deal. The people who hate Trump, think it's a surrender. All the stupidest points of view, and of course the Trump administration trying to sell it to us was one of the most simplistic points of view. Those ideas all come out first right away, and a lot of people, I think we know, they kind of pick up their opinions like you pick up your dry cleaning. They kind of drive by, they look at the paper when a thing first happens, and that's their opinion. So this is very powerful. So a lot of people have a very simplistic of idea about what's going on, and most normal people are not paying that much attention. But there's one thing I can tell you about this deal. I've read it, this memorandum that they've signed. There's one thing I can tell you about it with absolute certainty, and that is anyone who tells you anything about it with absolute certainty does not know what he's talking about, because we don't know that much about what it actually means. So let's just take a few on the extreme ends. Here's Mark Levin, who's a hardliner, wants to destroy all the bad guys in Iran. Let's cut one.
We know the enemy's going to cheat. We know they're going to steal. We know they're going to deceive. How do we know that? Because they've been doing it for 50 years. They haven't complied with a single deal they have ever signed with us, with the UN and the IAEA, with Europe, or with anybody else. Why is that? Because that is their 7th century fundamentalist Islamist ideology.
So, that all of that is true. Mark is a good guy, and he's a very smart guy. I've read his books. I don't like the screaming, style, but that's just me. But I've read his books. He's a highly intelligent man. And I'm really disgusted by the subtle anti-Semitism where somehow it's evil for him to take this point of view and care very deeply about what's happening in the Middle East. It's not evil at all. And I don't see why everybody else can have identity politics, but not him. But just because he's right about the Iranian regime, there's no question about that, doesn't mean there are plenty of evil regimes in the world, including China's. That doesn't mean America wants to spend all this blood and treasure taking them all out. Then there's J.D. Vance, who, of course, was part of the negotiating team and has been leading the kind of sell this deal to people. And I don't think he's covered himself with glory very much. I think he has used a technique that I really dislike. Here's just an example of one of the things he says. He's talking about John Podhoretz, who's another Jewish commentator, very strong against Iran and wants to see the regime destroyed. Let's cut to.
Right now, we need everybody who recognizes that this is a good deal for the American people and that we don't want, like John Podhoretz is saying, hundreds of thousands of ground troops in Iran. Make your voice heard. This is where you've got to participate in the process. Disagree when you disagree, agree when you agree. But I don't like this idea of the president did something I didn't like, so I'm out.
So first of all, I don't think John Podhoretz has ever said anything about sending hundreds of thousands of troops into, he wants to keep bombing the place, but he has not suggested an invasion that I've ever heard. So that, Vance keeps doing this. He keeps putting these straw men out there, and a lot of them Jewish, and then shooting those straw men down. But that doesn't mean that this is a good deal or this is a good way to end the war. And it's just very bad. He's done some better interviews than this because I think he's getting better as he goes along. He's on that was Megyn Kelly, you heard, who has been kind of towing, unfortunately, the Tucker Carlson anti-Semite line, even though I don't think she is an actual anti-Semite. But I was a big supporter of J.D. Vance, but I have to tell you, I'm a little worried about the guy. I'm very worried about the guy. In politics, you have to strike a balance between winning and principle. If you don't win, your principles are impotent. If you win but you have no principles, your victory is meaningless, right? So, he's a guy who's just a little bit too hard to pin down, a little bit too easy to turn around. And then, of course, there is the President Donald. And like all of us Trump's best trait and his worst trait are the same trait, and that is the gigantic hole in his face under his nose. I mean, his mouth, the stuff that comes out of his big mouth. Without his big mouth, why I say it's his best trait, without his big mouth, we would never have broken the cultural stranglehold that the left had on this country's political discourse. I mean, PC and woke and cancel culture, he crushed it with his lips. He didn't even need his teeth. He just like talked it down. He talked it into dust. But he has to say everything that's on his mind, and because he's a constant negotiator, he is always projecting into the deal, while the media takes everything he says as his policy and then holds it against him. So, if he says, I don't care about the midterms, then later on it turns out he does care about the midterms. We think he's a hypocrite. No, he was just telling, Iran that he wasn't going to be pressured. He had this one moment when he said, I don't care about American finances. Now he's saying something different. This is cut 4. Now he's saying why he had to sign this agreement. This is cut 4.
The alternative would be a worldwide depression. The stupid people want to have a worldwide depression, and they're stupid people. So you can only go so far. Drive somebody into the ground and a lot of bad things happen. Number one, the Strait would never open because they don't like floating billion-dollar ships up and down a strait when there are rockets flying over them and mines all over the place. So the Strait would never be open. It wouldn't be open for a long time.
So, before he said we were in control of the Strait, he said we want unconditional surrender, we want the end of their nuclear program, we want regime change. And then people say, well, you didn't get any of your goals. Those were never his goals. Those were things he said because that was the negotiation that he felt he was in. And so now that he says there would have been an economic downturn, a worldwide economic crash, now you hear the left, especially places like the New York Times, saying we came at them with all of our war machine, but they defeated us with their economic power of controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that to me is garbage, because once they pulled that trigger, every minute they were doing that, they got weaker, actually. It was strong. It might have really damaged the economy over time, but they were finding new ways to ship their oil over land. They were finding new ways to ship their oil around. We were sneaking ships out. Eventually, they would have lost that. And eventually, if Trump had decided to go in and take over Cargill Island, he could have just taken the Strait away from them. But he obviously decided not to. And the other thing about Trump is that he is constantly the man, right? In his mind, it's not about what's on this paper because, the paper is not binding in any way, shape, or form. It's just a kind of plan for what they're going to negotiate over the next 60 days. And Trump's point of view is, if they mess with me, I will come back and bomb them again. Here's what he said about that. This is Trump number 5.
It's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding. And if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head.
When do you expect the word?
If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Okay? Because they've misbehaved for 47 years. All right?
So my position on this whole thing has not changed ever. I've started talking about this, I think it was on Friendly Fire, because I thought it was a good thing to do. I thought it was a brave thing to do, to go in and really cripple Iran and stop them from building nuclear weapons, which Trump is right about. We can't let, they're an evil regime. And this is another thing Vance is doing that I don't like. He's starting to talk about them like they're normal. I'll believe that when I see it. But they're an evil regime. He went in, he really bombed the hell out of them, really hit them hard. And I think that was good. But I said at the very beginning, this is a war with a timer on it. And what is the timer? Okay. The timer is this. The Venn diagram of our interests and Israel, which is now our best ally. Israel is now our most loyal, our most competent ally, because Europe is in shambles. It used to be the UK, but now it's barely a free nation anymore. So Israel is our best ally, and our interests on the Venn diagram, very much those circles are almost on top of each other, almost. But there is one big difference. Right at this moment, Iran is an existential threat to the Israeli people, and we have to make sure that they don't get destroyed. It would be a disaster. But here, right now, the existential threat to us is the Democrat Socialists of America, because they are moving in for the kill. This is real. Socialism would be the death of the American way, and we would never get it back. I mean, the real socialism. Trump's approval rating is in the toilet. It's down to around 41% because of high gas prices, because of war in the Middle East, which everyone's kind of weary of. We had 20 years of meaningless war in Afghanistan, and a humiliating surrender. We just don't want to see it anymore. People are tired of it. And I said this at the very beginning, and this is just a general sense that Biden inflation, it was so bad, and Biden's economy and Biden's America was so bad. We expected Trump to come back and fix that, and we want to see him doing it. Now, he's done a lot of good economic things for this country. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying we want to see our president wholly engaged with what's going on here. The House of Representatives was always going to be hard to keep in the midterms. That was just the map and the fact that the incumbent loses the midterms. But now, the Senate is under threat. It's seriously under threat, and it's not under threat by JFK Democrats. I'm a JFK Democrat. Strong military, low taxes, modest moves to help civil rights along every now and again. We are under threat by anti-American socialists, not just the Nazi up in Maine, but James Tallarico, Alexander Vindman. You remember him? He's the guy who betrayed his country, in my opinion, by listening in on a conversation between Trump and Ukraine when Trump said they ought to investigate Joe Biden, which they should have done since Joe Biden's son was on the take in Ukraine. So it was perfectly normal that he did that, and he testified, and that was a big, in the administration, he's fighting the president of the United, this unelected dweeb is fighting the president of the United States. These are really bad people, and young people are flocking to them. So Armand Dani is mayor of New York. There's a mayor of Seattle that in Washington, they haven't counted the votes as I'm speaking yet, but it looks like we could have a socialist mayor in Washington. And the DSA is highly motivated, highly funded. They're training their candidates. They're training them to speak well. They're training them to hide their radicalism. And they're laying the groundwork for an AOC presidency in 2028. And if you do not believe that can happen, you are wrong. I don't think Gavin Newsom has a chance of even being the candidate, but AOC does. And she is a tyrant. She is a fascist. She's a leftist fascist, but that's nothing that says you can't be a leftist fascist. So for us, it's more important for Trump to turn around, get his popularity rating back up, because that's going to have a big effect on who shows up and how much power he has as he speaks to the voters, and see if he can save the Senate and possibly limit the damage in the House. So when you look at this deal, you just have to watch TV and you'll see this. As I say, MAGA stalwarts read the deal, the same words that I'm reading, and they say it's great. And strong Israel backers look at it and say it's an utter disaster. What I say is that it's nothing. It's a ceasefire. It's a ceasefire to buy time, to restore the economy and Trump's popularity and strengthen the GOP for the midterms. It was always going to happen. I said it at the very beginning. It was always going to happen. So what's the difference now? Did we lose? I mean, this is the nonsense thing. We lost the war. They're worse now than they ever were. No, here is something Vance said in his best interview with Ross Douthat at the New York Times, the one sane man at the New York Times. And here is something he said, which I think is fair. This is cut 6.
What we're doing here is we're taking the Iranians at a position of maximum weakness and cutting off their ability to rebuild, to get back to the place that they were when Obama cut the JCPOA. Their conventional military is largely destroyed. Their nuclear program is destroyed. I mean, they have no capacity right now to enrich uranium, to stockpile uranium. The facilities that they built have now been buried under rubble. It would take them months even to dig that out.
How long, just independent of the deal itself, what is your administration's estimate of how long it would take Iran to reconstitute things based on what's been done to them in the last 2 years?
It's a very hard question to answer. And obviously it gets a little bit into classified information, but it's dependent a little bit also on how much money they have. To build an underground nuclear facility with all of the centrifuges and all the capacity to enrich uranium and all the ability to turn enriched uranium into a nuclear weapon, it would cost a lot of money. And so without access to money, many, many years, decades, possibly.
So I don't want to, sugarcoat this. When you read the deal, when you read the memorandum, it seems to offer Iran a lot of money. It takes sanctions off their oil shipments, so they'll be able to sell it for millions and millions of dollars. They can make a lot of money to help them build up again and build back all the evil stuff that they do, supporting Hamas, supporting Hezbollah, all of that stuff. And there's the things that we expect from them are a little foggier as you read it, so it doesn't look weak. But I maintain that all this is a delaying tactic. It's a ceasefire, and what happens next depends on who uses this time the best, us or them. Whether we use it to tamp them down and make sure they know we will come back and blow them to kingdom come, and to make sure that the DSA does not take over too much of the American government, and whether they use it to strengthen themselves and reunite themselves to the people in the Gulf that they were fighting with and terrorizing. So the real question to me right now, the real question that we should be asking ourselves is, why is America so miserable that Trump has to turn away from what he's doing to stop the DSA, to stop socialists? Why are young people flocking to socialists when we know with 100% certainty that socialism is poison? It is death to the economy. It is death to freedom. It is death to everything. No country has ever become socialist without dying away. And the only time it ever works is in tiny little places where everybody's the same race and everybody has the same values. Then you can share out. Then you have this ultimate trust, and you can share out. You can hold your politicians to account. In a country this size, it would be a disaster. There is a reason for this. There's a reason young people are so miserable. Ever since FDR, we're talking about back in the 1930s and 1940s, we have been increasingly trained to think that government could solve our problems. This was not true in America, in old America. When you look back on the golden days of America, this was not true. We look for big programs, big solutions, big 4,000-page bills that no one can read and knows what's in them, so the Supreme Court can't even rule on them wisely, and we give them over to these unelected agencies to run our lives. Obamacare, the Green New Deal. Obamacare is a zombie bill. It doesn't look anything like it looked like originally. The Green New Deal, which was set to us as a inflation fighter. These are things that we were told that government could do. Remember, George W. Bush said this: when people are suffering, government's not got to move. It doesn't. It really doesn't. None of these things makes things better. None of them makes things better. Big government, more and more government plans only add to the power of greedy little men and crazy little women, what you have in our government: greedy men and crazy little women who have no capability to solve or improve anything except their own state of power and of wealth. And that leadership, finally, as it always does, as that government got bigger and bigger, as it had reached more and more aspects of our life, as it had more and more control over every little thing we did, government failed at unprecedented levels. Our elites failed. Our media failed. They lied to us. Tulsi Gabbard just released a list of biolabs that we were funding with, for advanced weaponry, essentially. Anthony Fauci said it wasn't being done. He lied. Senator Ron Johnson has released a report showing that the Biden health officials purposely turned a blind eye toward COVID-19 vaccine safety signals, threats of sudden cardiac death, pulmonary infarction, cerebral artery occlusion, basal ganglia stroke. All this stuff they knew about, and they hid it. Our leadership has betrayed us at every level. So instead of saying, oh, government should be small, and so these guys betray us, the young people think, no, now we need a government of good people. The good people are going to come in, and they're going to do it right. And we are not explaining this to them. When you compare the young, eager, dynamic socialist candidates who are out there to the silver-haired, drab, old-fashioned GOP candidates, the young people look at this and say, this is the future. This is the hope where the government's going to come and save us. We have got to start making the argument that that's not the way it's going to be. And we've got to start telling them why we are against it. And instead, we're doing something else, which I'll talk about in the next chapter.
All right, let's click on the link here showing you that this video does come from Andrew Klavan. Here we go. Andrew Klavan, this is the video I shared with you. He's always got great information, except for maybe his monologue, which is entertaining, if nothing else. But this is it. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, jumping back here. Oops. Let's slide down here and see what Doug in Exile has to say about Kash Patel breaks Gavin Newsom's California election scandal. Let's see what that's all about.
It finally happened. The FBI is sent to California to investigate voter fraud. We were waiting for hardcore results. There's more and more of it coming out now. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots are. Let's get to Kash Patel. This is going to bleed into Gavin Newsom and all the other kinds of fraud. But first, let's take a look at the Skid Row announcement. This is by Kash Patel last night. Securing our elections is of the utmost priority to the FBI. If you mess with our elections, we will find you. FBI rapid response posted, not on our watch. Got him. FBI agents descend on Skid Row in massive voter fraud probe after stunning claims of election bribery. So this is going to the whole if that ramen lady's votes went up by so much and there really were people paying Skid Row people to collect votes, that's illegal, then the FBI is going to go investigate it. They'll conduct their own interviews. They'll talk to the people who talk to the people. They will find out. Now, this is going into a much bigger kind of fraud case where they're bringing in John Solomon, who just temporarily left Just the News to go work with the Trump administration on certain insider information that he has. Now, insider information that he has is he was the one focusing on the Barack Obama, Brennan, Clapper grand jury down in Florida. He's also the biggest election integrity guy. So they could also be looking into vote fraud. Here's John Solomon with the announcement.
One programming note. I want to make sure everybody on this show is aware of it. I put it as a disclaimer on all my shows. I mentioned it on my podcast today. For the next couple of months, I'm working as an unpaid government employee to help the government identify documents that can be released to the public. It's your information, after all. Bureaucrats keep us from it. I have an opportunity to help the government identify some documents, some secrets, some things you should know about when it comes to weaponization, election integrity, other things. We're going to work on that. But during that time, I just want you to know.
That's election integrity and weaponization. So he's trying to help get certain phrases released to the public that he knows are there, but haven't been allowed to be released yet. Forget the UFO files. Forget the Epstein files. These are the real files. This is what you want. Election integrity files released.
I've stepped aside as the editor-in-chief of Just the News. I still do my reporting. We're still going to do the amazing show here with Amanda. But I want everybody to know that I'm doing this. I'm unpaid. I don't take any money from the government. I think it's a good role for a journalist to play, getting more information out. But I want you to know personally.
This information wasn't leaked the way Adam Schiff leaked his information to the public. John Solomon is putting it out himself. But he's stepping down as editor. Someone else is going to take his place. Amanda Head's taking his place as editor temporarily while he works for free for the government to go through thousands and thousands of documents to help prep them for the public. Now, back to that FBI bust or the investigation that Kash Patel announced. This is the New York Post. FBI agents descend on Skid Row in massive voter fraud probe after stunning claims of election bribery. These are the homeless people getting paid for their votes. The FBI is now investigating voter fraud in LA. Now, chat, tell me, what are they going to find there? What kind of fraud are they going to find in LA? Federal agents descended on the streets of Skid Row in downtown LA Thursday last night following allegations that the homeless had been paid to vote in the June 2nd primary. About 20 agents. Good. That's about how many you're going to need to do a canvas block by block, interviewing them and finding out who got money for their votes. About 20 agents swooped in on the notoriously blighted area after homeless people staying there claimed they'd been bribed with cash to sign multiple registration forms, forge signatures, and fill out voter information for the mayoral and gubernatorial primaries. Hey, if our FBI wants to find more evidence, couldn't they just go and pay the homeless people to tell them what they want to hear? Because that's what the Rahman and the Karen Bass people did when they paid them to vote. They influenced their decision. Why can't the FBI do it too, if it's so on the up and up? The California Post looked on as plainclothes agents questioned Skid Row residents, asking them if they were paid to vote or were aware of others who were approached with the offer. So here's a bunch of homeless people over here. Here's the plainclothes people going up and interviewing them. Plainclothes federal officers interviewed people on Skid Row. The Department of Justice would only confirm that federal agents were investigating a, quote, criminal matter as officers conducted up to 50 interviews. I wonder if Spencer Pratt is putting them up to this. That'd be great. Marked a major escalation in the Fed's probe of voting in LA, with director Kash Patel applauding the action. Quote, securing our elections is of the utmost priority. He said the action came a day after LA City Council voted to move forward with a controversial proposal introduced by a socialist council members to allow immigrant non-citizens to vote in city elections. This is insane. It does not make sense to me that someone who moves to LA for a temporary job has more of a voice than a parent who's been here for decades raising their children through public schools. The Democrat Socialists of America backed council member Hugo Soto Martinez. The FBI probe followed the emergence of shocking videos the week after Election Day of Skid Row residents claiming they were paid to vote for incumbent Mayor Karen Bass and Councilwoman Nithya Raman. I just want to note, those videos did not come from ABC, NBC, CBS. They're not doing their job. They have no interest in the news. This was all citizen journalists like me or like a Nick Shirley that went out and actually walked the streets and interviewed people and did all the hard scoop work. Because journalism's dead. Social media journalism, this form of entertainment journalism, is the only form of news where we're breaking the truth. Raman's surge into second place after initially trailing well behind change agent candidate Spencer Pratt came after an extraordinary tally in mail-in ballots. In one of the clips, a man on Skid Row claimed he received $4 to vote for Bass. When asked whether he would also have been paid to vote for Raman, he answered yes and said Pratt was not among the candidates he was encouraged to support. So they go, which Democrat commie lady do you want to support? Quote, they gave you an optional choice, claimed the voter Stephen Shepard, alleging he was offered $2 but negotiated for a higher payment. He further claimed that he completed a mail-in ballot for Bass and deposited in a ballot box. Good job, homeless guy. Now more homeless people will come join you. Federal Homeland Security investigations agents also participated in a Thursday probe. The officers dressed in jeans, sweatshirts, baseball caps, etc. These are the plainclothes people going around. So they're collecting evidence. Guys, this is at the FBI level. They're not messing around. Absolutely not messing around. Here's on Jennifer Newsom's charity. Gavin Newsom's wife stinks high as heck. She's been paying herself the highest salary in all charitable work in all of America. Is she doing that good of a job? Here's Katie Pavlich on her show.
What made you look into Newsom's wife in the first place, and what did you find?
Well, there are just always a lot of questions that seem to be swirling around the Newsoms and their finances, have been for years. And so I thought, this is a man who clearly is going to be running for president. This is worth looking at, what their finances are, what the shape of them are. And so when I had a look at Jennifer Newsom's charity, I found that she was paying herself since 2012 $3.7 million. And this is a lot of money when you look at the amount that the charity brings in. It's sort of 1 to 1.7 million a year. And she's paying up to a third of that to herself and her own company, $300,000 a year. Now, that is, I did a bit of data analysis looking at what charities that size usually pay their executives, and she was in the top 5% of all charities in the nation for pay.
Well, she's got a lot of connections, like to the goon on her side, her weirdo husband. Brooke Rollins. Now, this is my case for voter fraud, for why there must be a lot of voter fraud, because we know of so much welfare fraud, food fraud, USDA fraud, every kind of fraud there is, healthcare fraud. Everywhere there are charities going on by the government, it's massive fraud because it's all run by Democrats.
Well, that's what I've been saying. Listen, we're partnering with all the red states. They've been great partners. And just in that data collection over the last year, we found 300,000 dead people, right? People using deceased individual Social Security numbers. We found over 500,000 people getting more than one benefit. So getting the same benefit twice, for example. And these are in the red states. Can you imagine when we begin to partner with California, California, New York, Illinois, when we had data, once we get through the litigation, what we're going to find in those states.
I doubt you're going to get it from a blue state. That's their whole bread and butter. But I'm only saying, here's the math. The Skid Row homeless people prove that a vote only costs $2. If you're getting SNAP benefits or welfare benefits and you're getting paid twice, that's a form of fraud. Just 500,000 people getting it that way. Which is cheaper, to buy a vote for $2 or to get double paid on welfare benefits or SNAP? It's much harder to get that welfare, that amount of money. It's much easier to pay $2 for a vote with zero oversight. Therefore, given the math, it is likely there's probably more voter fraud than there is welfare fraud, Medicaid fraud, SNAP fraud, and that's just everywhere. I would guess, given the numbers, voter fraud is wildly rampant. Of course, you're not allowed to look. I'm Doug, in exile.
Right, there you have it, folks. This is the video I shared with you from Doug in Exile. He's absolutely right, and I see some agreement there in the chat. All right, I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Let's jump back here and see what McWattersaffect has to say about Mike Lindell's surges in Minnesota. That's good, in governor's race. Let's check that out. Here we go.
This fraud is actually a blessing, everybody, because it's woke people up. Kind of like the 2020 election, where it woke up the whole country and the whole world. This is waking up Minnesota, waking up the people that love Minnesota, that grew up here like I did, that were born here. And we are not going to let this happen to our state. We're going to fight back on every level. I mean, when you put out this, we have the most nonsensical things come out of Minnesota than any other state, when men and women's bathrooms and tampons in men's bathrooms, and now they're doing a poll, or to get our local elections through the phone lines. Through telephone. You can't make this stuff up. I thought it was bad when we were fighting Utah back in the day to text in your vote and email in your vote. You're going to call in your vote. This is nuts.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel, and today I want to talk about what's going on in Minnesota when it comes to Republican primary for governor, and how it looks like Mike Lindell is in first place when it comes to these polls. Now, polls don't always mean anything, but it's a good indicator that that's the person who's probably going to win. Now, the primary is on August 11th, so we got some time, and some of these candidates might catch up. Let me go ahead and show you the poll that I'm talking about. Okay, as you can see, Mike Lindell's at 27%. He's in first place. Then Lisa Dumont, she is 5 points behind. Then you have Kendall Quayles, who's 17 points, and then another Republican at 10 points, and undecided 24 points. So it's early, and there's 24% that have undecided. They could go to other candidates other than Mike Lindell. But I think this is a good indication of what's going on in Minnesota. People are tired of all the fraud, whether it's election fraud or if it's fraud when it comes to our social safety net that's being misused in Minnesota. Now, guys, I got a video I want to show you where Mike Lindell's talking about his run for governor. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
I'm polling #1 in Minnesota, running for governor. This is a big poll. This was done by ABC, our local KSTP, and they are shocked. They don't know what to do with it. And I'm leading by a lot. I think it's 5 points over the next closest, is Lisa Damon. And we've just begun to do we're going to be doing 4 or 5 events a day. Yesterday, we just did a huge parade. We gave out 2,500 pillows threw out to little kids. It was great. We had a big float. But you guys check this out. The only thing I need that says right in the poll is funding. If you go to Lindell TV LindellGov.com or MikeLindellGov.com, you guys, you can check it out there. I have my new Lieutenant Governor, Philip Parrish. He's absolutely amazing. He's one of the first one that reported fraud here in Minnesota. So we are going to fight through and win this. And Minnesota is the tip of the spear for so many things.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I hope Donald Trump actually goes out there and start endorsing Mike Lindell. Now, he hasn't done it yet, and I think he's waiting to see who actually wins the primary before he does that. I'd rather him put his thumbs on the scale and do it now, kind of like what he did in South Carolina for Lindsey Graham. I think he should do that for Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell has been a big supporter of Donald Trump, and when it comes to election integrity, and also supporting him when it comes to what happened in 2020. I think Trump owes him to go out there and support him in his election bid to be governor of Minnesota. Now, I want to know what you guys think about this. Do you think he really has a chance of winning or what? And also, do you think, like I do, that Mike Lindell is an American hero and he deserves our loyalty and our vote if you're living in Minnesota? I'm hoping you guys that are watching me from Minnesota go out there and vote for Mike Lindell, because he will be able to transform that state and change it for the better, in my opinion. But guys, I want to know what y'all think. Don't forget, hit that like button and share this out to everybody.
All right. Let me click on this Rumble link here.
Soda.
Let me click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from McWattersaffect. And he's right. You know, Mike Lindell, he did a lot when that 2020 election fraud. In fact, they tried to ruin his business. There were a lot of big companies like Walmart and others that just stopped selling his pillows. They, somebody kind of whispered in their ear, and they just stopped selling his pillows because he was trying to show that there was election fraud in 2020. See, that's what happens to people that tell the truth and go against the deep state. Is they try to ruin their lives. Luckily, he's smart enough to just sell everything online. Ship it out. Cut out the middleman, so to speak. So there you have it. All right. With that being said, right here, clicking on the Rumble link, this is the video I shared with you. McWattersaffect. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All righty then. Let's jump back here. And prayers for Mike Lindell. Very good, Viper Senior. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. X from X22 Report. I like to share this. I like to listen to what they have to say because, they sound a little bit about like my wife and I. I dropped a couple of specials today talking about the reflection pool in Washington, D.C., and how people are protesting to save algae. Okay? Algae's got a right to live. God save algae. And trying to destroy the reflection pool, trying to destroy where they, I don't know if they live there or not, but trying to destroy something beautiful like that simply because Trump tried to clean it up. What the hell? All right, let's get into this and see what they have to say. This is Rumble Premium, incidentally. I do have Rumble Premium, and if you don't, then you'll be able to watch this, and I will be sharing this in my daily news wrap-up as well, so you will be able to see Mr. and Mrs. X Premium only in my daily news wrap-up. So let's go ahead and get into this and see what they have to say.
So enjoy the best of Mr. and Mrs. X. But you can see that this is what they do. They push out lies, just like they pushed out the lie about COVID. They pushed out the lie about gain of function. They pushed out the lie about all this. And now Tulsi Gabbard is looking into the gain of function. She's investigating Fauci.
So it's so overdue, and it is his time because, what he did, it's truly a crime against humanity. When you look at the lies and how, when after the few doctors and medical professionals that did try to stand up to him and to have a voice during COVID, and they were either silenced, they were put down, they were told they were crazy. And now they're all trying to backtrack, and not just our country, but other countries too, saying like, oh no, you had a choice to get vaccinated, and really, I don't think a lot of people did think they had a choice whether to get vaccinated, and based on the information that was being presented at that time.
No, I think most of the people were put into a state of fear.
Yes.
And the fear drove them to get vaccinated because they believed what they were hearing on the news. And right now we have Jay Bhattacharya, we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard she's now saying that they're actually looking into what Fauci has done. Again, we know that Rand Paul questioned him in Congress, and we're finding out, and I think we all knew this, that he lied to Congress about everything. Remember, they told us from the very, very beginning, and there's emails showing that Fauci was actually pushing this narrative that gain of function came from the wet market.
Right.
When there was a lab 20 miles away that was working on gain of function. So,
which he knew because we were involved, we were help funding some of these labs that were in these other countries doing these kinds of experiments. He
yes,
knew it. He knew it.
He knew it. Everyone knew it. And this is why these individuals use the auto pen to pardon themselves, because they know they're guilty. Actually, the cover-up always gets you in the end.
But let me ask you, I mean, this is where I guess the auto pen is going to be so, I think, critical going forward, because was he even eligible for a pardon? And is it even a valid pardon at this point, when all this information is coming out? It's an interesting question.
Well, you think about the pardons. Is anyone, the only reason you would need a pardon
right.
is if you already committed a crime.
Yes.
Or you've committed a crime.
Right.
If what they were telling you from the very, very beginning, like Fauci, like Adam Schiff, Brennan, Clapper, Pelosi, the January 6th Unselect Committee, as Trump would say, if they were telling the truth, there'd be no reason for a pardon whatsoever, because you didn't commit a crime, you didn't do anything wrong. But for them to actually go ahead and say, well, I want a pardon for future crimes or anything that I've said in the past, that really shows you that they're guilty. Now, of course, I know the fake news, they're going to be spinning it, saying, oh, they want the pardons because Trump is going to come after them. Trump is not going after anyone. They did this on their own. And the people, when they see the evidence, and this is very important, the evidence is going to be documented. The evidence is going to prove that they are guilty. And you know who's going to demand justice? The people.
Yeah. Well, it always goes back to that. And to me, I think we really have to ask ourselves, is an auto pen pardon even a real thing? Because has anyone even heard of an auto pen before Biden? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just become this rhetoric that it's like, oh, well, it's an auto pen pardon, as if that's a real normal thing. And I don't see how. I think that's a question we have to ask ourselves: is that even acceptable?
Well, they do use the auto pen for other things where they're just signing things, but for a pardon, I think the pardon or anything official should be done by the president with his own hand, or his or her own hand.
Especially with a pardon, because a pardon is very specific based on the person and the reason for the pardon.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. And what's very interesting, I mean, now that they're investigating Fauci and Tulsi Gabbard, she actually let us know that, yes, there is an investigation going on. You have to remember that the deep state players, they've been working on gain of function for quite a while. And this is why they've been trying to defend Ukraine for a very long time, because within Ukraine, they actually discovered around 30 labs. And the labs in Ukraine were working on gain of function. They were working on anthrax. They were working on the avian flu. Now, think about this for a second. When Russia went into Ukraine and they discovered these biolabs, remember, the Ukraine war was started by the deep state players, Victoria Nuland, Obama, Biden, Hillary Clinton. They had a coup and they basically overthrew the Ukrainian government during that period of time. And they were trying to hide the fact that they were working on all these things. Now, think about it. Go back to 9/11. Was there an anthrax scare?
Yes.
Yes.
I remember that.
Remember the avian flu scare?
Yes.
Remember the COVID scare? Well, this is where they actually worked on all of these viruses. Now, again, yes, they have other locations, but this was their main hub where they worked on everything. And Russia actually reported this to the UN. They have the documents.
Well, it's funny because Bill Gates has already alluded to the fact that there's going to be another kind of pandemic. I mean, I don't know if he was saying that not that long ago, honestly. Like, how do they know? Because, how do they know?
Well, well, they know because they're going to release it. But I think it's going to be very difficult to do another pandemic. I think because the people of this country now are hardened. I think the people of the world are hardened now. And I don't think they're just going to believe that there's a pandemic.
Right.
No matter what they say it is. because they're going to question everything. And I think the people are going to want proof this time around. I'm not saying 100% of the people. I think the majority of the people this time around, they're going to want a proof. And, you know, people say, well, I don't believe that. Well, if the people actually believe the COVID pandemic and they still believe it, they still be getting their boosters. Now, I know there's people out there still getting their boosters. I don't know why, but the majority of the people, they're not getting that.
Right. Well, I think they realized really quickly, you know, like, well, wait a minute, like a lot of things didn't make sense. I think you're right. I think initially fear mongering was a very big part of it. I also think that people didn't want to, they had also the fear of not being a part of society. Like, you know, that's why they made our kids get vaccinated if they wanted to go to college, or, oh, you have to get vaccinated or you can't go to your job, you know, and then people are like, well, how am I going to make a living? And they definitely didn't just use your fear of getting sick. They also used your fear of not being an active member of society. Well, if you don't do this, you don't get to do that. And that's threatening behavior. I mean, and then I think when people finally got distance from it and saw like, wait a minute, this was manipulation, this was fear tactics, I really think they would be hard pressed to try another kind of pandemic. Not in that way.
They used emotion. That's what they used.
For sure.
You're going to kill grandma.
Well,
if you don't get, you know, vaccinated, if you don't keep your mask on, if you don't keep 6 feet apart.
Yes.
And again, I've said this many, many times before. They never proved in any type of peer-reviewed study, and that's the only study that counts. All the other studies from the CDC, FDA, where they said we did a study, it's meaningless. So when they come out with it, make sure it's peer-reviewed, because if it's not peer-reviewed, it means it's paid for by a certain organization, or they're putting out propaganda. The only information that the American people should actually believe is actual peer-reviewed documentation. And this is why when they started to come out with all this information, this is why they censored so many doctors and scientists, because they were questioning the methodology of how they came up with these results, how they came up with the information.
Well, I think this is one of the things, particularly the Democratic Party is famous for, and the mainstream media is right there with them.
Oh, yes, they're included.
Are these fear-mongering tactics. You know, I believe it kind of started, I remember, this is when I specifically remember it, was during 9/11 with Dick Cheney. Like every time it was like, oh, what's the code today? And on your TV screen, you would see like a code red or a code yellow for like the threat with terrorists and whatever. And I think they've been using this playbook, especially going forward, like through Obama's administration and on. And then it really came back again during COVID. And this whole, like you said, this fear mongering, you're going to kill grandma. You can't go see this. You can't witness the birth of your child because you're going to endanger each other. And it's a really ugly, dark practice, because you're making people fear-based and then logical thinking, critical thinking goes out the window. And I think that's a very crazy time. And actually they're still continuing it. I mean, I'm just looking at what's transpired in just the past few days in terms of using these emotions and using these examples. I mean, for example, Chuck Schumer, we just discovered, has been using these kinds of emotional like tactics all along to further his whole career. He invented a fake Long Island couple that he had based his whole career on, about what they were making, how much money they were making, where they're at, and the reason that it inspired him to do this kind of legislation and whatnot. But basically, he's using your emotions and lying to get ahead in his career. Autism rates have gone up significantly.
They really have. And if you look, going all the way back to like the 30s or so, 1 in 100,000 children had autism. If you fast forward to 2014 and moving forward, we're about 1 in 31 children. So something's changed.
Yes.
Something happened in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to look at all these different things. And I don't think it's just one thing.
I agree with you.
I think it's the way the pharmaceutical companies laid it out and the way they planned this, and not just the pharmaceutical companies, but I think the deep state players, because I think eventually what they really wanted is they wanted to basically weaken the population of America. They wanted to make sure that the boys in this country wouldn't be able to fight a war. They wouldn't be able to stand up to the deep state players. And how do you do this? Well, you poison them over time. You make them weak. You basically give them diseases. And this is how you can basically overrun a country. So if you're doing 1 in 31 children who are getting autism, can they fight in a war? Can they stand up to a tyrannical government? No, they can't.
Right. And It's typically more boys than girls too.
It really
I
is.
don't know the exact breakdown, but typically autism affects boys more than it does girls.
But I think it's not just, I think Trump, yes, he's leading in with Tylenol. And of course, this is what he does. He brings in Tylenol. The deep state, the fake news, and all the fake doctors, they're going to attack it. They're going to go all out on this. But the history shows that you shouldn't be taking Tylenol if you're pregnant. Of course, your doctor has to make that determination. And if you have a really bad headache or a really high fever, yes, there's certain circumstances where you must take it. But I think he started with Tylenol because he wants to then move into vaccines. And this is the perfect way to do it. And you just keep bringing more and more evidence out. So, every time the fake news and all these people tried to say, no, that's not true, then you bring other information out that backs up the claim and actually counters what they're saying.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. Great information. I mean, it's nothing breaking news or anything, but, they're saying exactly what I'm thinking. I believe that the people that watch my videos, they're thinking the same way. It's nice to have a little confirmation in your beliefs, okay? And that's why I like Mr. and Mrs. X. I like X22 Report, has great information. Sometimes he can be a little bit over optimistic, but for the long haul and for the most part, he puts out good information, no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. And that's what I'm trying to push here, folks. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Mr. and Mrs. X, X22 Report. This is the video I shared with you. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. A lot of great chats. Let me click on this, and Viper Senior happened to throw in 9/11. Yeah, that is. Been X22. Yeah, I watched X22 Report when he was on YouTube before he got canceled from YouTube. That was many years ago, probably over 10 years, I would think. Yeah, I think yeah, I remember watching him before Donald Trump became president. I mean, that wasn't one of the things that triggered me with X22 Report. But at any rate, here we are. I've got the live chats copied into a comment. And let me remind you, folks, that these videos that I've shared with you here are videos that come directly from the producer. Okay, I've got the links to the videos in the description box, as well as the links to the producer's channel. And these videos that I shared with you here tonight are videos that I've posted here on Mertech.com. As I said, right there's Andrew Klavan, all the way down here, alphabetical order. Mr. and Mrs. X, X22 Report. McWattersaffect is in here too. Right there. Oh. Yep, that's the video I shared with you. So I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic and truth videos here. A wide range of channels, a wide variety of information, the kind of information that you're not going to get from the mainstream media. The link to Mertech.com is in the description box. It's a free site. I don't have any ads popping up in your face. I'm just doing this to get the news out, okay? I don't make any money off of Mertech.com. All right, I'd like to share all of this information with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do so. But that's why I've put together my Mertech Daily News Wrap-Up playlist. Okay, it says I have 26 videos in here, probably 9 or 10 hours worth of great information. Here's the video from Andrew Klavan. We're going to finish that up, then finish up the video from Mr. and Mrs. X. Then we're going to move on to the Sean Spicer show, talking about Dr. Patrick Soon Chong on the cancer surge in young people. I wonder what caused that. Wouldn't have anything to do with a vaccine, I'm sure. But they're going to talk about that. Then We the People News, On the Fringe, some more McWattersaffect. Great information here, folks. But go ahead and take a break right now. Grab a donut and a cup of coffee or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer. maybe a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes so I can get this set up in Rumble Studio, and we'll take off with some great news and great information, the kind of information that you want to share with your friends, I'm sure. But with that being said, I do want to thank you for being here this evening. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.